And so, in recent weeks, in my school, we've gone through some what we call branding exercises, which are very, very disciplined and rigorous exercises that are aimed to try to address those questions. Who are we? What are we? And how are we going to do what we do? And then looking at Du Bois, he wrote the works that I read 113 years ago. 113 years ago. Yet many of the questions that I think he's attempting to frame from a sociological perspective are questions that we still wrestle with here in 2012 at Clark Atlanta University. Who are we? What are we? And how will we do what we do? And all those of you who know Du Bois, he got caught up in what I call, Professor Doctor, a false paradigm. Because back in his day, he got involved in a debate. There was a paradigmical argument between, so-called argument between him and Booker T. Washington. Talented 10th, okay, versus what I call hands in the soil. And here we are 113 years ago, once again, still wrestling with those questions. How will we progress? So here's why I think it's very profound that we're here at Clark Atlanta University wrestling with these questions now. So these studies were done in the context, there were some major works that were done right here at this university. And Du Bois, he framed them in terms of sociology. We know now that there are other fields of disciplines that were involved, but that was his perspective at the outset. But we're still wrestling with those questions. The Negro in Business basically was an attempt to analyze, do a survey of the breadth and depth of the black business world as it was at that time. So he laid out categories and attempted to understand how these businesses came to be. Well, in 2012, here at Clark Atlanta University, guess what we're doing in the business school? Okay. The same kind of work. So, the significance of Du Bois to me was that he was the precursor. And if I take anything away from his work, it's that there's so much work that remains to be done. Going through one of the worst economies in my lifetime, and I'm older than 21. Unemployment high, African Americans losing businesses, lack of access to capital, okay. Lack of a rich trading environment in our community, lack of a series of an ethos of accountability in our community around economic issues, a lack of a clear understanding of the role of economics in our community, inability to operate informal structures in a robust enough manner to be able to overcome our exclusion from the mainstream economy. So Du Bois was like one of the earlier ones. He looked at us back in those days in the late, in kind of the post-Reconstruction era, and began to ask himself those questions: who are we? He wasn't so much of a script, I don't think he was trying to hypothesize anything. He was just trying to understand what was going on at the time. And so, as I go through my branding exercise with my faculty in 2012, and one of the things that we try to wrestle with, we're trying to come up with a way of looking at ourselves in kind of a non-traditional way, kind of what we call an analogous way. And I was trying to think, what could be analogous to being at Clark Atlanta University in the School of Business in 2012? And then I started reading Du Bois, and it helped to give me a perspective on just how much work was left to be done. And then on to economic cooperation. How many people in this room have asked themselves, you can raise your hand if you're there, okay? Why is it that my community, the economic life, is so slim? How many people are asking questions of that question? Okay. So we've all wrestled with that because we've all thought about that. Why is it in our community there's not a robust sense of economic reciprocity? That's what Du Bois was talking about when he talked about economic cooperation. Again, in 2000, he wrote this a long time ago, this article. Guess what? 2012, we're still wrestling with these same questions. So my research and my colleagues' research focused on a lot of these unresolved questions in our community. Du Bois was the forefather. He was the precursor to it. Back in those days, just as they do now, they set up Du Bois and Booker T. Washington as adversaries. I would argue that we probably needed both. We need people with hands in the soil, and we need talented talent. So it's left to people like myself and other faculty members around me, CAU and AU Center and elsewhere, to continue Du Bois' work, to continue to wrestle with these questions, to continue to develop new business models and new ways of trying to identify and work with what we have and what we are. So that would be my basic observation, and I'm going to stop. Both of these articles, and I'm very, very proud. We often forget in the midst of our extremism sometimes, in the wrestling with issues on the campus, we forget just how important and significant this place is. There were 5 studies, I think there were. 5 studies. This was one of those studies. These were critically important studies done right here on this campus. And it should be a reminder to us all just how important and how weighty the cause that we share, those of us who work, go to school here. Very, very important. So I would just close by saying that I think that both of these works are of monumental significance. I think many of the issues that Dr. Du Bois raised back in the day are unresolved today. And I'm here to tell you that in my campus and in my faculty,